This appointment is not like the last few. Some things got serious and some things shocked me, while others sorta choked me up. The appointment started by talking about how people love to compare anxiety to PTSD and how it is very much something that causes people to feel invalidated, myself included. This does happen on a regular basis in my life with people close to me. Usually while we are in the car, the one place for me that it should not happen. I was read a post about emotional immaturity and I definitely want to work to better this and other things about myself. In my mind currently it seems like it's going to be such a struggle to try and grasp everything I learned from what was read to me. Not only that, the biggest thing I feel that goes along with that is it happens with the person I live with on a 24/7 basis. At the end of this part of the conversation we talked about how having things like this happen cause even more of the fight or flight to happen and how to try and help in such scenarios. We did also speak about how one family member tried to tell me how I should respond to an incident that brings up all of my emotions and criticizing me until someone else had to explain to them why I was doing what I was doing before they would understand. They didn't want to listen to me. This is where I got choked up, but not sure if it was noticed or not. I still have so much anger, irritation, invalidity, and much more from in that moment. This conversation also lead into a conversation about a person calling me names, blaming things on me constantly, yelling at me, and telling me they feel sorry for anyone who dates me or is even my friend, etc. I slightly mentioned my fear of living alone, especially on the first floor, the fear of being robbed on said first floor, as well as possibly moving into a place alone that ends up being extremely haunted. I know that's a dumb fear, but it's real. I also mentioned was how I still obsessively look into the Francis Scott Key Bridge things, how orange blinking lights on cars trigger my brain to think about said bridge, a guy who stopped my mother and I at the grocery store, and it felt like he was literally staring into my brain in a creepy way. How my family keeps mentioning how my chihuahua will probably die soon, which I will not be able to handle. And lastly, the blackout I had in the car that started a fight. I even made 2 videos about it. These are just topics we lightly touched on. Now let's get to the other big topic of this specific appointment, self in a living. We touched on this just slightly the week prior, but I wanted to try and find ways to think about the people I've lost to it less and cope with the guilt I have. My childhood friend, I've known him since we were 8, and I'm just about to turn 29. And my idol shiny Kim Jong-un. Long story short, I feel like if I did more or tried harder I could have saved them. I feel like I shouldn't be allowed to be older than they were. I also feel so guilty because my childhood friend always listened to my issues but he never spoke about his own. And I so badly wish I could have helped him back. I have also had two experiences when I was young that I told her about. I had a friend preteen, not even sure if this was a real situation as she was just an online friend who had supposedly tried to self-unalive and wrote, "I love you" cos in her blood. The other was an ex-friend of mine who was messaging me while I was asleep and I woke up to a message from her saying that she was going to blame me for herself in a living because I was not answering her messages. Again, I was sleeping, and I found out that I have so much guilt with my idol and my childhood friend because of that specific situation. Those two are both still with us, but they made a huge impact in my life. She also says that had caused me to have trauma with self in a living. I really had no idea it was even a possibility, but I learn more every day I go to therapy. I did have to message my therapist the day after my appointment because my brain wanted to fix a misunderstanding that my therapist said in her reply back that she actually never took what I was saying the wrong way. I will speak more on this next week because she and I are going to talk more about it again at my next appointment on April 22nd, 2024. My therapy schedule changes middle of May when I start group therapy as well as individual therapy. Group therapy is TBT therapy. That will be, I believe, 13 weeks. and will lead into my EMDR therapy as well. I was doing some research on EMDR therapy to see how I'll possibly feel during it all, as well as ended up on Reddit, reading about experiences as well. I'm partly excited and part nervous, because the drive will be a huge deal for me and a huge happiness. I have even started planning ahead for the future a bit by looking for which GMC I want most. Right now, it's a 2024 GMC Terrain AT4 with AWD. I'm also trying to start earning credits so I can get a car loan and financing options. I'll do a video later on this week or next so that I can show exactly what I'm talking about with the GMC and show you what features it has that make me feel like it would be a really safe car for me, especially with my PTSD. Just in case something happens. Hopefully that made sense. I just quickly wanted to add in this weird sign I got today. I don't understand it well, but it was funny. As I was coming home from doing my blood work at my clinic, a bird shit on my mom's windshield 5 times. 5 is my lucky number. Then I immediately saw a GMC. It is strange, but until next week.